The last time we finished the entire day and night cycle, and we did add stars and all that, but we still have one thing to do for the last part in the series, and that is to write an event system which will allow us to do certain stuff at certain times of the day. So let's say you want to turn lights on at night and turn it off in the morning. We're gonna need the event system. And I already have an event system planned out, and I'm going to show you how to implement everything you want with it. So without further ado, let's just go ahead and start. First, you want to go to the BP custom game state. And we're just going to go ahead and take this time update function. I'm just going to go ahead and just take everything that isn't the event itself. So this red part here, this time update, we're just going to go ahead and collapse nodes. And we're just gonna go ahead and rename this to advance time. Awesome. I'm just gonna go ahead and move that closer. And we're also gonna have to couple this up, or just merge these into their own separate graphs. What I mean with that is we want the initialization part, so everything except the timer, to be its own event, and then we want the timer to be its own graph as well. So you just want to go ahead and select everything here, the get active class and all these, but you don't want to select the timer. Also don't want to actually select this amount to take a second and this math calculation. So just hold Control and left click to remove them from the selection. We just want to go ahead and collapse to graph, so collapse nodes. And what we're going to name this is initialization, or I'm just going to name this begin play, but you can name it initialization. I'm going to go ahead and move this closer to the begin play. And then I'm going to go ahead, the set timer by event. Gonna go ahead and collapse this to collapse nodes, so collapse it to a node graph. And then I'm just gonna name this timer start. And now we can just move all these closer to each other. Now the reason why I wanted to make these two parts, so two graphs, is because we want to do a check before we actually start the timer to see in what states the event should be. If you don't really understand what I mean with that, you're gonna understand when we actually get to the event system, which is what we're gonna do right now. So you just want to go to the bottom left, go to event dispatches, and just add 2 new events. Just gonna go ahead, rename the first one lights on. I'm gonna rename the second one. Let's go ahead, rename lights off. Perfect. So I'm just gonna go ahead and create a new function here. And let's just name this is certain time. So we'll check if it is that certain time. So just want to take the time of day in seconds, drag it out, use a get, go ahead and make a time span. So we convert it to time. Then you want to go ahead and with Alt left click, disconnect it from days, connect it to seconds. Just want to go ahead, take the return value and add it to an equal. Just want to disconnect it from the top and add it to the bottom. I'm gonna go ahead, drag from the top and use a make time span. Awesome. Now with this make time span, you just want to go ahead, drag from the hours, the minutes, and the seconds to the is certain time node. Then just click on the is certain time node, then you'll see there's an outputs tab on the right side. Just want to go ahead and add a new boolean. I'll call this is certain time. You also want to go ahead here at the top, at the graph section, you just want to tick on pure, which means this function won't use execution pins to work, which is what we want. So you just want to go ahead and drag this return nodes out a bit. Then you want to take the equal and plug it into is certain time. Now we can compile and save. Now I can actually go ahead and duplicate this function by using Control W, Control W. We're gonna go ahead, rename the second one First the rename, yeah, perfect. Is over certain time, and then we want a new one. Rename is under certain time. Perfect. Now we're just gonna open the is over certain time and just return this. Just take the equal out and replace it with a greater node. Perfect. Just go plug it in the same way we had it. Then we're gonna go to the is under certain time and replace the equal with a less than. It might not make sense while we're doing this, but don't worry, it's gonna make way more sense when we actually use these two. Compile and save. Now we're just gonna go ahead to our event graph, and here at the time update, this advanced time, we're just gonna move this a bit to the side. And at this time update, we're gonna go ahead and add a new sequence node. So every den here, so let's say I have 4, this is 4 different events you can pull off. You can use as many as your computer can handle, but for now I'm just gonna showcase one event, so I'm just gonna remove these execution pins. What you want to do is we're going to go ahead, take a den 1, make a branch node, and while we're here, at the false, you want to go ahead and drag out a new branch node. So if this condition fails, we have another one to rely on. So we're going to go ahead and take our is certain time and connect it up. We're going to take another is certain time and connect it up. Now this is going to be our lights on and off. So if it's, let's say, I think 7 o'clock's pretty good. So if it's 7 o'clock in the morning, then we should go ahead and turn the lights off. But let's say if it's 6 o'clock in the evening, we should turn the lights off. So is certain time, if it's 7 hours of the day, then we're gonna go ahead and turn our lights off. So just drag out the event and call it. Call lights off. Perfect. And if it's this time, we're just gonna go ahead and call lights on. Perfect. Now that this is done, we can just go ahead and right click this and collapse nodes. Just gonna go ahead and rename this lights on / off. Perfect. And now we can just move this above the advanced time. If you want, we can actually go ahead and rename this and just add a new nice little bracket. So we type in event. Perfect. So this means we know it's for event calculations and stuff like that. So after the begin play, we're just gonna go ahead and add a sequence node. Now this sequence node is weird because what we want is we don't actually want the timer to start before everything else. We want the timers to start last. So that means you just have to move the timer start to the last one of the execution pin in the sequence. So to make that clear, we're just gonna go ahead, right click on the timer start. Just gonna look for, oh yeah, here's a node comment box where we can type a comment so we remember this. And what we're gonna do is we're just gonna type has to be the last exec pin in the sequence node. Perfect. So now you remember this every single time you look at the sequence node. Just gonna drag in the den 1 because we only have one event currently. Just gonna go ahead and alt left click there. So we have that sorted. Perfect. And now here at the top, we're gonna do a bit more calculations. But before I can actually do that, I want to show you a mistake, not a mistake, but show you why we have the sequence node here. So for us to do that, we're just gonna go to our first person example map, go ahead and create a new blueprint class. It's gonna be an actor. And I'm just gonna go ahead and name this BP Street Lights. Perfect. I'm gonna go and open it up. We're going to the event graph. We're gonna go ahead and delete the actor begin overlap and event tech. We don't need that. At begin play, you just want to go ahead and actually you don't want to drag off the execution pit. You want to right click in the open and get game state. Perfect. Now you just want to get the game state and cast to BP custom game state and connect the execution pin up. Perfect. And now this as BP custom game state, we're going to go ahead and promote to a variable. We're just going to go ahead and rename this to game state. Awesome. Now we just want to go ahead and drag out our game state from the variables and use a getter. Then we want to go ahead and bind event to lights on. And then we want to go ahead, drag our game state out again, and bind event to lights off. Now I'm intentionally making a mistake here. And the reason I'm making this mistake here is if you make this mistake, you might get very confused. And that's why I'm going to show you how to fix a simple mistake you could make sometimes. So just want to go ahead and connect these two up here. Just want to go ahead. Boom. Awesome. Now if I compile now and save, you're going to see there's a lot of errors. The event dispatch pin. Okay, yeah, you just want to connect this event up. So we're just going to go ahead, drag out this event, make a custom event. This is going to be our lights on. And then you're going to go ahead to the lights off and drag a new one, custom event. And this is going to be lights off. Awesome. Now we're just going to go ahead and add a light to our blueprint. So we're going to go to the viewport, add a new spotlight in the component tab. We're going to go ahead and rotate it so it shows down. You don't have to do this, but I like this. Compile, save. We're going to go to our event graph. We're going to go ahead, drag out the spotlight, and then we want to go and set intensity to lights on. And then we can just copy the spotlight and set intensity node again and plug it to the lights off. And just so that we don't get confused in the future, I'm just going to move this a bit to the side so we know these two don't have to be connected at all. Perfect. Now the set intensity is new intensity and the lights on. I'm going to go ahead and promote this to a variable. Yeah, we can leave it at new intensity. So we can set the intensity in the editor. Just want to go to your variables in the new intensity next to float. You want to tick the eye on so it's a public float so we can edit it in the editor. So this should be text instance editable. So we're just going to compile and save. And the default value for new intensity should be 5000 because that's what the game wants us to do. Now sometimes you can actually have an error here where it says, oh no, there's a lot of problems with your bind event and all that. Now, if you have those errors, the reason is because you didn't actually compile when you add a new event, so the engine's a bit confused. Just want to compile and save, and then you just want to recompile this, and it should work again. Awesome. So let's go ahead and go to our first person map and drag out the streetlights, and we're gonna move it up a bit, and I'm gonna hold Alt to duplicate a few, just so we can, of course, see multiple of it. So let's just go ahead and play. And of course, because we spawned in while it was day, it's still gonna be lit on. Then in the night, it's gonna be lit, of course. And then when it's gonna be done hitting or hit morning, then the light should go off. Yeah, and then it goes off. And then it should turn on about now. Yeah, perfect. Now we have that solved, but we still had a problem there where the lights were on during the day, because if we go to our BP custom sky, we already have a time set in the hours, but the game doesn't really worry about that. It worries about future events. Now to fix that, you just want to go ahead and go to your BP custom game state, and then this is why we made the sequence node. Before we start the timer, we just want to go ahead and check what time it is so we know what event to call. Perfect. So this then 0 is going to be our lights on and off. So what we're going to do what we're going to do is we're going to drag from then 0 and create a new branch node. So I'm going to make this a pretty simple one, in fact. I'm gonna drag a is over certain time and is under certain time node. I'm just gonna go ahead and do a and boolean. Just connect those two up. You could use an in range node if you want. That's totally up to you. So is over certain time. So if it's over 7 o'clock in the morning and is under 18 o'clock, so it's 6 o'clock in the evening, then that means it's day. So what we should do is we should call the lights off event. And if it isn't, then it's probably night. So we're gonna go ahead and call the lights on. You could go more advanced and do more advanced checking, but for this simple case, I don't really have to do much advanced checking here. Just gonna drag these out, so we'll select everyone, and we're gonna go ahead and collapse nodes. This will be our lights on / off begin play check. Just gonna go ahead and move this on the top. Perfect. Compile and save, and I believe now if we go ahead and if the time's on 11, oh, the lights are still on. That's a bit weird. We'll just have to look at what this could possibly be. So I'm in the lights on off begin play check graph, and remember when I was talking about an in range node should be the best thing to use here? Well, it turns out, yeah, it is one of the best things to do here. So let's actually do it. We're just gonna go ahead and delete or is over certain time and is under certain time. It really isn't helping us at all. We're just gonna go ahead and delete those references there as well. We're gonna compile and save to check that everything is fine. We're gonna go ahead and create a new function. We're gonna name this is between certain time. Awesome. And now what we want to do, we're gonna go ahead and use a make time span. And we're gonna also create another make time span. Perfect. We're gonna go ahead and drag in the hours, minutes, and seconds, and then we're gonna go ahead and drag in the hours, the minutes, and the seconds again. We're just gonna go ahead and rename these. So if you click on the is between certain time, just gonna name it hours. Let's just name this hours 1. Okay, we're actually gonna have to go ahead and rename. Actually, wait. Min hours. Yeah, that makes sense. We're gonna go ahead and name this min hours. Min minutes, which is actually pretty funny. And min seconds. And then we're also gonna go ahead and rename it max hours. I'm gonna go ahead and rename it max minutes. And we're just gonna go ahead and rename it max seconds. Awesome. Now that's perfect. What we want to do is we're going to go ahead and take this return value. Actually, we're not going to take return value yet. We're going to create an in range integer. Perfect. What we want to do is we want to take return value and type in seconds. So we use the get total seconds. And then we're going to go ahead and drag the value in the minimum. Just make a bit more space for the truncate node. We can just go ahead and actually duplicate these. So we can drag the get total seconds in and drag the truncate into the max. I'm gonna use the inclusive max and min, but you could actually map this out if you want. And the value at the top should be our time of day in seconds. And perfect. And now we're just gonna go ahead and the return value will be the results of this function. So we're going to take out is between certain time and new output, new boolean. This will be our is between certain time. Awesome. Now we're going to drag out the return value to make more space, and then we're going to take return value and plug it in. Again, compile and save, and now we want to go back to our lights on and off begin play check. And what we want to do is we want to remove this and we want to take our is between certain time, drag it in. It's gonna have execution pins, so we're just gonna go ahead and check the pure, which is what we want. Plug in the condition. Awesome. And now the minimum hours, we said would be 7, and max hours would be 18. So if it's in between these values, it should turn the lights off, but if it isn't, it should turn lights on. So that's pretty cool. Else you could do a branch node to do 2 checks if you want, just like we had the other system, but I'm not going to do that. So we're going to compile and save. Perfect. Now I'm going to go to my BP streetlights because I actually added print strings to check that those are on. And yeah, that's how we found the error. So if you want, actually, you can go ahead and put print strings at the end of these to know when an event has a problem, but I'm not gonna. I'm just gonna delete those. Compile and save. Now we're gonna go to our first person sample map, and if I hit play, yeah, the lights aren't there. But when it's about to hit night, yeah, the lights turn on. And then the stars and the moon, it's so beautiful when it moves. I really like it. And then the sun comes up and then the lights turn off. And yeah, now let's just make sure it does a double cycle, yeah. And then we know it does this infinitely on. So yeah, that's the end of the tutorial series. Someone asked if you could have my TV tutorial work with this, or screen tutorial. And yes, it actually does. You just want to go ahead, create a new BP with your TV, and you just want to play video and play sound and play media on that certain time. If you want a mission texture to work, I'm just gonna go ahead and take this cube as an example. It's pretty simple. You can just add a scalar parameter in your material, which ups the brightness for buildings lights, so you can actually light up buildings at night. If you don't know how to do that, I might actually create a new video explaining how to implement that to the day and night cycle, that specifically. But for now, we have this 3-part series done. It's about an hour long, but it was pretty good. And like I said, it's just so beautiful. I really like it when the moon comes up. And of course, it's very adjustable. You could go to your volumetric clouds and really just mess around with the settings. There really is a lot of settings to move around with. I really like 7. And you could go into your BP custom sky, go to the viewports, and adjust how you want the moon to look. You can adjust the color settings. I really like a bluish tint for my moon, and I really like the source angle to be very high. And yeah, that's about it. This is really just me rambling on about how I really like the system we made here. So yeah, I'm just gonna end the video. If you like the content, please subscribe, hit like if you liked the video, hit dislike if you didn't, and also in the comment section you can let me know if you want a certain thing to be added to the system, so we can go ahead and address that in the future video. But for now, I'm just gonna say good night, and thanks for watching this video, everybody. Bye!